Hello and welcome to Pock and Rop and Happy New Year for 2025. In this video, which is the first one that I'm recording this year, I am going to take a look forward into the next 12 months. This will include albums that I'm really looking forward to, things that I'm hoping or think might happen. I will also take a look at what will be coming from the camp of the four artists formerly known as the Beatles. And then right at the end, I am going to take a look at what's going to be coming up on this channel over the course of the next 12 months. Before I go into all of that, I would remind you to subscribe if you've not already done so, to click the thumbs up to like the video, and if you like the sound of what might be coming up, then the bell to receive notifications of that future content. Also, I'd be really stoked if you would share the video with someone else who you think might like it, or indeed might like some of that future content. So let's go in and start with some certainties. These are so certain that I have already pre-ordered them. So first up is Coco by the Lottery Winners. I got into the Lottery Winners thanks to Anxiety Replacement Therapy, which came out in 2023. It's an album that I've grown to love more and more and more. As a result, I've also listened to their previous albums, including their download-only covers album that they did during lockdowns. They're a good band. They're an enjoyable band. I am tempted to go and see them live, and as I said, I have pre-ordered Coco on Amazon. The next is the Lathams. I saw them live last year supporting Keane. I was already a fan. In fact, I did a review of From Nothing to a Little Bit More. Matter Does Not Define is their third album. It's due for the release in the first quarter of the year. As I say, I've already pre-ordered it. The Lathams, I got into them in 2021 thanks to their debut album. I'm expecting great stuff from their third record. Their second was great until the final track, which is terrible. But I'm hoping it's more of the previous 10 tracks and not the 11th track's quality. Having already heard, by the way, No Direction, which I'm hoping will be on it, and the single that they released just before the end of the year, which will definitely be on it. And the next is a legacy band. A friend of mine and I bonded over this band. We've seen them live together multiple times, and we may well go and see them live again this year together. It's Deacon Blue. This was a big surprise. I did not know that Deacon Blue were planning a new album, but they are. It's called The Great Western Road. They are touring it. It's already pre-ordered with Amazon. And those three albums I know are coming. I know I'm going to almost certainly enjoy. Look out for them in my review of the year 12 months from now. So let's move into a few other conjectural things. So the first on my list is Mimi Webb. So her album Amelia was probably the pop highlight of 2023 for me. There's a lot of songs on there that just are still in my brain now. I'm looking forward to the likely expected new album from Mimi Webb. Most artists seem to be on this 2-year cycle. It's been 2 years since Amelia. Mimi Webb's second full-length album, I think, is going to come out in 2025. And on a similar theme of pop female artists, Ava Max. AM3 or Made From Scratch, we don't know what it's going to be called. It could be called something entirely different. That is also expected in 2025. Again, 2-year cycle. I am going to definitely be giving Ava Max a listen. The Weeknd is releasing a new album in January this year called Hurry Up Tomorrow. That will be on my listen list when that comes out. I blow hot and cold on The Weeknd. Dawn FM was fine. But After Hours I thought was brilliant. And then perhaps I don't think it's quite so brilliant again later on. It goes in cycles. It's really overshadowed by Blinding Lights, which is just great. But the new Weeknd album will definitely be on my playlist. So, what about things that are perhaps a little bit more possible, maybe not? Keane. I saw Keane live last year. They were on the 20th anniversary of Hopes and Fears, and they were brilliant. It's the second time I've seen Keane live. I've enjoyed their gigs so much. I love Keane's songs. I think they're terrific. They appeared on my son's Spotify Wrapped for 24, and in their little announcement they said they're working on new music. Is that going to come out in 2025? I don't know. If it does, it will be towards the rear end of the year, and it might not come out until 2026. But who knows? The next is Charlie Puth. I was seriously hoping we'd get Charlie Puth's fourth album during 2024. We didn't get it. It was a bit of a disappointment because I do admire him quite a lot. I really hope it's Charlie quality, the third album, because that is a phenomenally good record. I re-ranked my 2022 albums less than a month ago, and that had actually risen to number 2 spot, just behind Elvis Costello. And I would say it was my favourite album of the year, if not my best. So Charlie Puth 4, I'm sure is going to come this year, but then I was wrong last year. There's likely to be a Bruno Mars album. If it's Die With A Smile quality, it will be well high on my ranking list. If it's more like Apt, it might not be. And lastly, Muse. Muse are an artist that tend to be on a 3-year album cycle, except when things get in the way, like a pandemic. So it was 4 years between Simulation Theory and Will of the People. It's going to have been 3 years. And so I strongly suspect there's a new Muse album coming in 2025. If that happens, then I am likely to both review it and perhaps redo my Muse ranking, because that has changed since I reviewed it for Will of the People 3 years ago. So having dealt with the majority of artists, what about the world of the Beatles? Well, it is the 60th anniversary of the film Help, and of course the soundtrack, and the 60th anniversary of Rubber Soul. Rubber Soul has been rumoured and expected for both of the last 2 years and has not materialised. I think we're going to get it this year. 60th anniversary is too good an opportunity to pass up. I think we're going to get a Beatles 65 box set. The Rubber Soul sessions were actually well known for being quite high speed and productive by Beatles standards, and with few outtakes. There's quite a few outtakes from the Help sessions, things like That Means a Lot and If You've Got Troubles, and I think the 12-bar original. So 65 is ripe for a box set of both, perhaps including a DVD or a Blu-ray of the Help film as well. So Beatles 65, I think we're going to get something from there. I don't think they'll pass up the opportunity this time. But I and many other Beatle fans have been well wrong many times before. Let's look at the solo Beatles. Let's start with John Lennon. Last year saw the release and complete re-evaluation of Mind Games. So Mind Games went through that whole re-evaluation, has come out the other side glittering. I think we might get the same with Walls and Bridges, although, of course, Walls and Bridges was recorded during his lost weekend away from Yoko, so it might not get the treatment it deserves. I very much doubt we'll ever get a rock and roll box set, which would be the 50th anniversary, the proper 50th anniversary. So, John, Walls and Bridges, but I don't think there's going to be much else if I'm really honest. What about George? Well, George saw the release of Living in the Material World last year with a second album of outtakes. I gravely doubt that they're going to do the same for Dark Horse or Extra Texture. Both albums are cited amongst his worst. There's a dreariness, tiredness, fed-upness to George's 2 albums that closed his contract with Apple. I do not think that they are going to get box setted. They may get remastered and perhaps even half-speed mastered, but I think that's it. Ringo seems to have had no interest whatsoever in revisiting his Ringo album from '73, and so I don't think he's going to do the same for Goodnight Vienna. But of course, Ringo's still around. And Ringo is releasing a new album next year called Look Up. I have to admit, I was thinking, nah, I'm not that bothered about what Ringo does. I haven't listened to any of his EPs because he said, I'm not releasing any more albums, I'm only releasing EPs. Well, he is releasing an album, and it's going to be a country album. As you know, Ringo's vocals on Beatles records were often country songs or country inflected. He released Book Hoops of Blues, which was a country record and is really good. Look Up. Look it out. I think this has a chance. It's coming out in the first quarter of the year. I think this has a chance of being a latter day Ringo classic. He does country well. So let's hope that's going to be good. And finally, Paul. Now, I am not going to make any predictions that Paul is going to revive the archive collection. I have concluded it's dead. And it saddens me to say that because I do want London Town. I do want Back to the Egg. I do want Give My Regards to Broad Street and Press to Play. And I do want Off the Ground. In fact, I would like an archive collection for everything after Flaming Pie as well, but I'm absolutely certain that's not going to happen. So what might happen from Paul's camp? Well, last year I thought it was possible he would release a new album, and it didn't happen. He was supposedly working with Andrew White, who produced Hackney Diamonds for Rolling Stones. This year I think we might get that. We might get a new Paul McCartney album. What I think we will definitely get is a half-speed master of Venus and Mars. Expect the announcement of that February, March time, because I believe it came out in May. I think it's a given. The half-speed master series he is carrying on with. And likewise, I think we'll get an announcement of a half-speed master for Speed of Sound, Wings at Speed of Sound, probably around about November, December time for release in 2026. So there's going to be another announcement in my opinion. So possible new album, and if it's not a new album, then it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if we got a live album of the Got Back tour that he's just done. So finally, what is going to be coming up on this channel over the course of the year? Some or all of this is going to happen. Bit like what I'll just be talking about. First of all, continuation of various series that I've been doing. So I will be concluding my ranking the tracks of Queen in the next couple of months. I have got Innuendo and Made in Heaven to do, which means I need to re-listen to Made in Heaven. I will be continuing my series doing the same, ranking the tracks of the Beatles studio albums. And I thoroughly enjoyed ranking the tracks of the Paul McCartney albums. If there's a new McCartney album coming, that series is going to get revived. But I'm also considering reviving it using batches of single-only releases and B-sides. And kind of chunking those together. Likewise, in the Paul McCartney material that I'm doing, I will definitely be continuing my tracks of my years. I have done the 70s, 80s and 90s. I'm going to be doing the noughts and the 10/20s. I'm going to be continuing my series, revisiting the decade top 50s now. I've done the 70s, 80s, 90s and noughts. I am definitely going to have another look back at the 60s, do the 10s, plus I'm going to do a brand new one of the 2020s, or at least the first half of the decade. I've got a couple of anniversary videos I'm planning in 75 and 85 for the 50th anniversary and 40th anniversary videos. I really enjoy doing those. Then there are some artists that I have yet to do album rankings for. I've never done a Bowie one. I've got REM prepped and ready. I'll be filming that soon. Prefab Sprout, surprised me I've never done them. As surprised me I've not done a Deacon Blue album ranking yet. However, I am likely to roll that in with an album review of the new release. Aha, Taylor Swift, Led Zeppelin, Eric Church, again, hopefully with an album review. Billy Joel, Green Day, Richard Thompson, I have been waiting to do that for quite a while. George Harrison, it surprised me that I've never done a George Harrison album ranking, as I also haven't done the John Lennon album rankings. I think I'm going to be able to do those over the course of the year. Got the Pet Shop Boys, Peter Gabriel, perhaps won over the entirety of Paul Heaton's career from London Nil Hull 4 to The Mighty Several, and Slade. All of those I may also do a Tracks of My Years for, because I haven't done one before. I've done one for Bowie, but I only did 15 tracks, and I don't think I really did that justice. And a few other Tracks of My Years. I'm looking at doing Bucks Fizz and the Fizz together. Dylan, I did his ranking last year of albums. I think it's time I did Tracks of My Years. The part 2 of Iron Maiden, the post-1992 material. Pink Floyd, I'm not going to do an album ranking with them because there's too many albums that I can't be bothered to listen to, like Atom Heart Mother and Ummagumma. But I can do a Tracks of My Years for them. Muse, Paul Heaton, Tracks of My Years, and Blur. And lastly, something I want to do, and it's incumbent on you watching this for this to happen, and that is another live stream where I'm going to tier list all of the singles of either the 70s or the 90s. I will send out a little message on community to say which one do you prefer. So that's what's coming up on this channel. I'm not going to do all of that. That would be a lot of videos, and I no longer put something out every single week. I just do it when I feel like it. But I'm going to do quite a lot of it. A lot of it is already prepped, at least mentally, to a certain point. Please do share this video if there's stuff in there that you think other people are going to be interested in, and get them to subscribe to the channel so we can do the live stream. So that concludes this video looking forward into 2025. Before you go, I'd remind you to subscribe, like, hit the bell, share the video, and thanks for watching.